And a top focus in WION at this hour. After nearly an 18-month probe, the U.S. House panel investigating the Capitol riots has recommended criminal charges against former U.S. President Donald Trump. The prosecutors have also charged Trump with obstruction and insurrection for his alleged role in sparking the deadly riot. Listen.
The committee believes that more than sufficient evidence exists for a criminal referral of former President Trump for assisting or aiding and comforting those at the Capitol who engaged in a violent attack on the United States. The committee has developed significant evidence that President Trump intended to disrupt the peaceful transition of power under our Constitution.
Now, the House of Representatives Select Committee also called for indictment and conspiracy to defraud the United States of America. A number of recommendations made in the final report accuses Trump of engaging in a multi-part conspiracy to overturn the election. Now, the recommendations are mainly symbolic, with the U.S. Justice Department responsible for deciding whether or not to prosecute Trump. However, it does add to the troubles plaguing the 2024 re-election bid that Trump launched last month. The Republican representative Liz Cheney of Wyoming, who is also the panel's vice chair, called Trump's conduct an utter moral failure and labeled him unfit for any office.
Evidence of this can be seen in the testimony of President Trump's own White House counsel and several other White House witnesses. No man who would behave that way at that moment in time can ever serve in any position of authority in our nation again. He is unfit for any office.
Monday's meeting by the U.S. House Select Committee was the last final public gathering of a 9-member panel that spent months probing the unprecedented attempt to prevent the peaceful transfer of power by thousands of Trump backers. Meanwhile, the former U.S. President Donald Trump has accused the U.S. House lawmakers of recommending fake charges against him as a part of an attempt to prevent him from running for the White House again. And for more on this, we are now being joined by a White House commentator and political analyst, John Christopher Boer. Welcome to the broadcast.
It's so nice to be with you here late at night in Washington, and it's freezing cold. But your grasp of the situation is superb. I comment very, very well done.
Right. Now, I want to start by asking you that the U.S. January Select Committee has recommended 4 criminal charges against Trump. How important are these conclusions, since they are not binding and does not carry any legal weight?
Well, this is like serving up a big salad, and it goes to the Department of Justice. And the American people heard all this. Remember that. So it goes to the Department of Justice, and Merrick Garland, who is, in fact, the Attorney General, has put together a counsel, a special counsel named Jack Smith, who is running the investigation. And now he is, that is, so it avoids political affair. And he will be the one who's in charge of the prosecution. And Jack Smith is very able. He was in the Hague doing other prosecutions, and I'm sure you've heard of them. And he will need to decide which charges should be brought and which can be proved at a criminal standard, and Merrick Garland will have the final say over that. But this is not a good day for Donald Trump, and it's certainly a very sacred and a profound and solemn day for America, because this has never happened in our history of this great democracy. And it's important to change the people's minds for the history books, because this is something that has never happened, and we are engaged, we are disgusted, but there is hope. There is hope in this season of many holidays. There is hope in 2023 for an America that is free from the skullduggery and from the vicious attacks on our country and on our U.S. Capitol. I work there. I go there all the time. It's a sacred place. It's like it's like Parliament. It's like a cathedral. You don't go in there and try to kill Nancy Pelosi and scream, "Hang Mike Pence." This is outrageous, and America is outraged. And we'll see what happens. It's up to the Department of Justice, and the final and full, all the recommendations will come out on Wednesday. And this is the executive summary, which is darn Tough enough.
Now, like you mentioned, that this has never happened before. So I want to ask you that what are the political implications of placing a former U.S. president on trial if it happens?
Well, I mean, some people will say it's about time. We've waited long enough. And other people will say his MAGA disciples, which I call them, they've deified him. They made a god out of him. They will be very, very upset. But this has to be done because the American people must learn, and these disciples of Trump must learn that this is not how a democracy works. You know that in India, we know that in America, and all through the civilized world, that this is not how a democracy works and a republic works in this modern day.
And how do you assess the recommendations affecting Trump's 2024 rerun, especially at a time when Trump is losing support within his own party?
Well, I think, as you saw, there were two very, very strong Republicans on the committee, and Dick Cheney's daughter, Liz Cheney, said that he must not do this. And she mentioned her grandfather, who was a pioneer in the state of Wyoming, who was the state of Wyoming, that he, I believe, that Dick Cheney is from Wyoming, and so is Liz Cheney. And Donald Trump basically got someone to challenge her. She will not be running again. She is out of a job, but she did it because she believed in the integrity of this committee and in the integrity of bringing Donald Trump to office. I mean, to justice, I should say. It's a little late here, excuse me.
Right. Thank you for joining us on this hour and sharing your insights on this job.
Pleasure.
Thanks very much.